Hello and welcome back to the Ascent Cycling Podcast. Following stage 10 of the Giro d'Italia, we had the shortest road stage on this year's route today, heading from L'Aquila to Foligno, and it was really a sprint stage on paper. However, we did have some climbs which shook things up today. I'm alongside my co-host, as always, Guillaume. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm very fine. Thank you very much for asking.
Excellent, mate. So we had an early breakaway did go, but it wasn't particularly dangerous. It never looked like winning the stage. There was some talk for breakaway taking the stage, and we did have a few fairly minor climbs on paper, at least they seemed to me, around 40, 50k from the line. And we saw Bora Hansgrohe really hammer it there, Guillaume, and they really, really blew open the race there.
I mean, they did. And I think it was the only correct move for them because we all know that Peter Sagan doesn't have the speed he used to have. And in a bunch sprint with everyone on top shape, he might not be the fastest. However, if you manage to wear down the peloton, get rid of the top sprinters, and those who manage to stay at the front have less energy than they probably would have liked to have, Peter Sagan becomes a favorite for the stage. And Bora paced throughout the day. They went full gas during the final two climbs. And I mean, I guess that was a wise shout because Peter Sagan ends up winning today's stage.
He certainly does. He certainly does. So it was Peter Sagan winning the end sprint ahead of Fernando Gaviria, who I think UAE had their best day of the race so far in the sprint stages, that's for sure, after some questionable performances. It was Davide Cimolai, third place. He's having a good Giro, but still looking for his first win. Stefano Odani was fourth place for Lotto Soudal, in place, of course, of Caleb Ewan, who's no longer at the race. And it was Gianni Vermeersch in fifth place for Alpecin Phoenix. So I mean, it was an interesting stage for sure, and Bora, they blew open the race, as you said, Guillaume. I think it was Gio Aliotti doing a lot of the work. He had a great day today, the Gio Aliotti. I even saw Emmanuel Buchmann, their GC leader, on the front at moments in that final 40k. They really committed to it as a team.
They really did. It was a team effort. We always say that cycling is an individual sport, but you play it as a team. And I think today's stage was the best definition you could have gotten of cycling. But yeah, Aliotti, Matteo Fabro as well doing a lot of work. Cesare Benedetti also taking the wheel of the likes of Nizzolo when Nizzolo got dropped, because as we said, some sprinters did get dropped in the final climb of the day, the fourth cut of the I believe Valico della Somma. Seeing the likes of Dylan Groenewegen being out very early during the climb, then followed by Tim Merlier, the then Ciclamino jersey. And at the very summit, we saw Giacomo Nizzolo being dropped with a few of his teammates. However, we expected the rider from Quebec to manage to come back. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but he never did. And there was a gentleman agreement with Victor Campenaerts throughout the final 20 kilometers. They shook hands and they knew that basically this was their stage done, meaning that with one stage technically left for the sprinters, we still have Giacomo Nizzolo without a stage win on the Grand Tour. And we said at the beginning he would end up with one. I mean, he's missed 4 chances already. He's got only one more.
I think today was a massive chance for him. I, of course, picked Giacomo Nizzolo to win today's stage. And I saw that climb, and it didn't look super difficult. Obviously, Nizzolo hasn't climbed too well at this race so far, but he climbed really well throughout last season, and he struggled again today, clearly. He had 4 teammates around him, I will say, in the final kind of couple hundred meters of that climb. And then suddenly we saw him only alongside Victor Campenaerts. So I'm not sure what happened. He just didn't quite have enough. He was about 20 seconds off the back at the peak of the climb and just couldn't get back on. And yeah, it was game over really once he was dropped there because of the tempo in the peloton. I'm gutted for Nizzolo, and it's going to be pretty difficult now to see him winning a stage at this Grand Tour. So it seems 11 runner-ups, and it may go on even longer beyond this Grand Tour for Giacomo Nizzolo.
I mean, he still, as I said, he still has a chance on stage 13, which will be completely flat, but we'll review that in a few days. However, you said that the climbs didn't look that tough. I think it was someone said it on GCN. I can't tell you. I probably Rob Hatch, but it's not how tough the climb is. It's how the race is tough on said climbs. It's probably not exactly what he said, but it's along those lines. And Bora had such a tough rhythm that even if Nizzolo had some legs, I mean, he just couldn't. I don't think he's in the best shape of his career, if I'm being honest. I think we've seen better versions, we'll say, of Nizzolo. But yeah, he just couldn't make it in Valico della Somma. Then what happened to Quebeca? Not really sure. but it meant we had a sprint in Foligno with Sagan, Gaviria, and Viviani as the main three riders. However, a crash did disrupt the final sprint. I believe it was Max Canter from Team DSM that fell on the ground and kind of disrupted the effort of Elia Viviani. One thing I'll mention, though, you said that it was the best performance of UAE on this Giro, and I do agree. However, there is one thing I can't really wrap my hand around, and I rewatched the sprint about 5 or 6 times, and Molano leads out Gaviria very well. Then they go to the right-hand side of the road. Molano gets the gap, and there is the gap for Gaviria to go through. However, Gaviria decides to stay behind Sagan. Sagan just follows Molano, and in the right-hander, Gaviria can never overtake the rider from Celina. So it's an odd one because I feel like Gaviria today could have won had he followed Molano. Molano did an unreal job for the first time this Giro. It's just a shame that Gaviria couldn't deliver.
I agree. I think Milano did a perfect ride today. He was sublime in that lead out, firing Gaviria to the front. And like you say, I think Sagan started to come across and Gaviria kind of backed out of it and followed Sagan instead. If he really committed to following Milano, maybe he could have held that wheel. And I really feel if Gaviria was there, he'd be the stage winner today as well. I think that was the key moment deciding this stage for sure.
As we said during this podcast, there is only one sprint stage left. And therefore, the battle for Ciclamino is now even more opened than it used to be with Caleb Ewan withdrawing from the race. Because now we have Peter Sagan leading with 108 points ahead of Gaviria and Cimolai, both tied on 91. I believe we've got Cimolai on 83 like he was at the morning, and probably Viviani in P5. I think Nizzolo is still within the shout with 76 points, meaning that there is 32 points, if my math are correct, between the first and sixth place with one more sprint, potentially two. We'll see how stage 15 goes, but on paper, one more sprint stage left in this Giro. Peter Sagan is in the leading position to get the first Ciclamino jersey of his career after 7 maillot vert on the Tour de France. If he does get the Ciclamino, do we think that the points jersey of the Vuelta becomes his final career objective?
I think that's a really nice objective for him to have. And like you say, I think he's now in the perfect position. I don't think anyone can really catch Sagan, assuming he finishes the race. I think we'll see half the sprinters drop out at least. Malia, he's not finishing this race. Neither is Groenewegen. You have to question Nizzolo as well. If he's climbing like this, is he going to be able to get over all the mountains ahead? And is he going to want to with only one opportunity as well, really on paper for him? Maybe two, we'll see. But yeah, I think Sagan, he looks unassailable now in the Ciclamino jersey after his win today. And yeah, if he wins this jersey, the Vuelta points jersey as well becomes a big goal for him, surely. Has Sagan rode the Vuelta before?
He did. He's a 2-time stage winner on the Vuelta, and he finished runner-up of the points classification in 2018, I think.
So yeah, he's ridden the Vuelta 4 times, and it's quite surprising, like you say, that he hasn't won it to this point. And yeah, like you say, it's a big goal. It's a big goal for him to go back to the Vuelta, surely. I'm not sure about this season because I am pretty sure he's planning to ride the Tour de France after this Giro. So maybe for next season, that could be Sagan's big goal. But obviously, we're speculating a little here. We'll see what he's up to throughout this year. Maybe he's going to do a Caleb Ewan and go to all 3 Grand Tours this year.
I think Peter will most likely stay on the Tour de France. I don't think he's going to withdraw from the race. I mean, if he does all 3 Grand Tours, then fair fucking play. But I don't think he will, if we're being honest. However, we know that Peter Sagan might not stay at Bora Hansgrohe. Maybe one of the key points for his signing will be that he can have a free card on the Vuelta with whoever teams he joins.
Yeah, for sure. And that could well be to Koenig Quickstep if we're led to believe the rumours that are circulating around the peloton right now. But I think, Guillaume, we have to talk about that final bonus second sprint, which took place, I think, around, was it 15 kilometres, 20k from the line? And we saw a massive, massive fight among the main 2GC protagonists. Remco Evenepoel came to the front first with his Koenig team. We then saw the Ineos Grenadiers fired up by, I think, Pippo Ganna, Bernal on the wheel. And Remco and Bernal had a massive fight for just a few bonus seconds. It was great to see.
It was unreal. It was an actual drag race, but there was no acceleration whatsoever. It was just pure sheer power. Filippo Ganna led Bernal so much that Peter Seri dropped out within the first few seconds. Remco managed to close the gap back to Bernal, and then he managed to overtake Filippo Ganna, which is not something I thought I'd see. Filippo Ganna being overtaken on the flat portion. How has this happened? I mean, he got outgunned by Evenepoel, And then Jonathan Narvaez preventing Remco from getting the 3 seconds. There is one thing right now that is in question marks, or in quotation marks, sorry, should I say. The incident at the end of the stage has resulted in Bernal losing a couple of seconds, same for Remco Evenepoel. The jury of the UCI is currently reviewing whether the 3 kilometer rule shall be applied. But if not, it means that Bernal is only leading for 1 little second over Vlasov, and that 1 second is the second he took during that intermediate sprint, which proves that the bonus seconds are a very, very key point in the Grand Tours right now.
They're more than worthwhile. I think, like you say, they're currently reviewing it as we're doing the podcast, and I think they will revert everyone back to the same time, because Vlasov, like you say, is currently 1 second behind Bernal because he was in that front group after everyone else cruised to the line. But yeah, I think we'll see the times reverted, but the point still stands. Every second counts, and it was so great to see Remco and Bernal giving their absolute all for that point right there. And I have to say, Bernal laid down a marker yesterday on that gravelled climb. And today, when Remco closed that gap first to Bernal, then came past Egan Bernal, beating him in that intermediate sprint, it's not quite the same, but it's a little jab back, showing that he's still very much here and a real presence in this race in the GC. He looks brilliant, I must say. 10 days of racing for Remco. He hasn't ridden 10 days across a stage race at all in his pro career. He's got 11 more to go, and he still looks very, very good.
Absolutely. I think yesterday Bernal scored a knockdown, if we're talking about a boxing style, but it was not a knockout. And today Remco answered with a jab. So maybe the start of something. One thing though I do need to say, and I mean, we said every single second counts. Today, so Narvaez got 3 seconds, Remco 2, Egan 1. Well, it's not a doubt. It's more of a question. Why did Narvaez go for the 3 seconds? Because it would have been Remco 3, Bernal 2, and whoever came third 1. Bernal could have gotten 2 seconds on the other GC riders. Today he only got 1.
It's a good point. It's a very good point. I guess in that moment he thought Remco is going to beat Bernal here. I'm going to take away time from him. But yeah, the point is very valid that Bernal would be probably 1 second better off without Narvaez doing that. Obviously not to Remco, but to everyone else, that would be the case. So yeah, I didn't think of that. It's a very good point, Guillaume. You've got a big brain in there, that's for sure. But just as I'm looking now over on Twitter, it does seem that the results have officially been reverted. So everyone does stay on the same time. Vlasov doesn't catapult himself into second in the GC like we first may have thought, but that won't be the case. But still, Guillaume's point still stands. Every second counts at this Giro, and the GC guys are fighting for every second.
They are indeed, and they will carry on fighting for the GC in the upcoming stages. However, tomorrow we will have a rest day for the peloton of the Giro, a very well-earned rest day, meaning that we will do a separate preview of stage 11, because it will be an incredible stage, the stage to Montalcino, based on the Strade Bianche, and we felt like it needed a sole video, because this could be the race, this could be the tipping point of the Giro d'Italia. We always say that there's a race or a stage in which you don't necessarily win the race, but you lose it. And I think everyone knows that stage 11 is this stage. So we will have a separate review, or preview, sorry, should I say, of stage 11 of the Giro, meaning that this is where we're going to wrap up this podcast. We do hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, then please make sure to leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, if you're watching over on YouTube. If you're listening to your favorite streaming platforms, make sure to follow us on these respective platforms, and we will make sure to see you tomorrow for potentially 2 podcasts. Who knows? This might be a double upload day. Joe, do you have a final word for us comes the end of the podcast?
Montalcino is coming.
Montalcino is coming. See you soon, guys.
Cheers.